Hello again. In this video I'm going to revisit this painting. Now if you haven't seen me painting it, do check out the end of this video where I'll be linking it to me painting this painting. I just used a very limited palette to paint it, just blue and yellow, two of the primaries, black and white. So a very limited palette, and we painted a landscape and this is how it turned out. In this video I'm going to show you how we can improve on this painting massively by adding another colour. And I'm also going to show you a great tip to help you to choose that colour without ruining your painting. So I use pieces of paper and I'll think of a colour that I think will go with this, and then I'll paint a little bit on here and then I'll place it on the painting. And if it works, I will paint it in. You can actually just use it as collage as well. So how do I decide which colour is going to make this painting look better? Well, I revert to the colour wheel. In this case, there's a lot of green in here, and the complementary colour to green is red, and I've got crimson on my palette. I could always use an orange, so I could mix up an orange with red and yellow. And also, because I've got a lot of yellow in here, I could possibly try a violet or a purple. I can make a violet by using the crimson and the cobalt blue. I think it's cobalt blue, or is it ultramarine? Well, one of the two. Okay, so in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a brush and I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to paint a little bit of red onto a sliver of paper. I'm not going to paint a lot, and just paint a bit of red onto a sliver of paper like that. Can get a bit messy doing this. Okay. Let it dry, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to just dump it down somewhere on there and get red onto it at this point because it's not dry. And then I'm going to mix up some red and a little bit of the blue, a bit more. Oh, it's a lovely, lovely dark violet purple colour. So again, I'm going to paint that on and put it over here. And I think I might just do one more for good measure. And I need a clean brush. Let's get a clean brush. And I'm going to mix a little bit of orange. So more yellow and red, and I get a lovely, lovely, gosh, that's a nice colour, isn't it? Lovely, lovely orange colour. I'm really roughly painting it on. I'm going to leave this bit unpainted so that I can hold it. Okay, so let's let that dry. The other thing that you can do, which is a really useful tip, is if you're unsure about the next layer or stage of your painting, if you paint the whole painting with a acrylic fluid medium, it provides a layer between this coat of paint and the next coat of paint, and you can actually wipe off anything that isn't working, as long as it hasn't dried, of course. So I'm going to use a gloss medium, and you can be quite rough about this. I'm just squirting it on and getting a big brush and literally painting over the surface. And that really, I'm even going over the edges here, that will really protect the painting. And the other thing that it does, which you'll love to hear, is that it brings back the colour, because when acrylics dry, they have a really horrible habit of drying a bit flat. some say they think they dry darker. I kind of think they just sort of lose their vibrancy. And if you put a couple of layers of a medium, you can use a matte medium, a gloss medium, or you can mix the two and get a satin. You can actually buy satin ready-made, and it will really bring back that vibrant colour. Okay, now we have to let all of that dry, so hang around and let's see what we do next. Okay, it's all dry now, and the little bits of paper are dry too. Now I'm just going to tear off a little bit and show you how you can just see. Got to tear this the right way, because if I tear it the wrong way I get a white bit of white paper. You'll be able to see what it looks like. Let's get this right. Okay, so it's quite a big bit, maybe too big. Let's make it a bit smaller. So it's just a random shape, and let's put that, make it smaller still, I think. See, that's the shape, that the bit of white that I'm trying to avoid. So we'll put it in here. And we can put another bit down here, maybe just here, and a tiny bit here. Got that little white mark that I didn't want. So just a little bit down here, maybe. Even, no, maybe that's too close to the edge. Let's see. So what that's doing is immediately it's lifted the whole painting. You get that blast of a warm colour going through what is essentially a fairly cold painting. And the other thing that it's doing is it's guiding the viewer's eye along the painting. So it's gone from a tiny little bit of orange there over to this big area of orange here. Now we can just move them around and put them in different places and see if that makes any difference. So I could put that there. That could maybe go down here, and that could be in there. Now it's interesting, I think, how when I put the orange on the grey, I think, I'm right in thinking, it sort of jumps out more. It jumps out more partly because it's got a lighter value and the grey is quite a dark value. Although I do quite like it on that yellow. In fact, I think I prefer it on the yellow. So that's what orange does to that painting. So we could either say, well, look, let's go with that, or we can try a different colour. So I'm going to keep those little pieces of paper here. And I'm going to try the violet colour. Okay. I want a rough edge because I don't want it to look too, I want it to look more organic really, I suppose. So let's put that piece in. Now, this colour is the complementary colour to yellow. So I'm going to put it on here and see what that does. The trouble is the yellows are a bit few and far between in a weird way because I don't want it to be right in the centre. So I mean, I could put a very thin line in. I'm going to have to cut this because I want a really thin line, just to see what that does. Putting it across here. Oops. Like that. Maybe down here. So let me just get rid of that. See how distracting that bit of white is? There, and maybe, again, maybe not, another little bit, but this time I'm just going to put it up here. So that's a lot less in your face, as it were, than the orange was. It's a darker value, it's quite subtle, But nevertheless it has lifted the painting. It's given it a new dimension, something a little bit more interesting to look at. So I'm going to keep those, and then I'm going to try red. Now red is the complementary of green, so we've got a lot of green in here. So I might just put a little bit. I feel in this area here it might benefit. There we go. And then maybe where? Over here? They could be like red roofs or something. And again, it's lifted the painting, hasn't it? It's gone from being fairly flat to it really lifting up. You could then just sort of see how it works with using another colour, like the going back to this one, the mauve violet. We had that little bit in the distance, didn't we? That bit there. Not sure about this one here, so I'm going to take that out. Don't mind the other two. The blue in the foreground was, when it was wet, was quite a nice blue, and that sort of disappeared, so I might paint that back in. I might just change those two and see what happens if I put that in. So what that's doing is it's sort of bringing the viewer's eye around and around. And I think, you know, I'm just going to do that now just to see how that... Whoops, that's got the purple on it. Let me clean that brush. Let's just get some of the blue. Tiny bit of green, just a tiny bit of yellow to make it a little bit greener. Just paint that back in again. No, it needs to be a little bit greener. Maybe that's too much now. And maybe a bit lighter. Wondering if I should just get my trusty. Let's try that again. So it's that, that, and that. Can you see this? You can quite see it down there. There we go. Just see if I can get just a really loose mark going in there. Okay. Maybe not, I'm not sure about that. So if you're not sure, sometimes it's a good idea to get rid of some of it and see if that makes any difference. I don't know. Sometimes you should just leave it well alone, shouldn't you? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of water, and before it dries I'm going to take it out. And that's what the isolation coat does. Look, even the side, what do you call it? Oh dear, I'm getting paint everywhere. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it as it was. Okay, so am I set on these colours? That looks a bit like a fish. I think I probably am. Let's just go for it. I'm going to mix them up again. So I want the purple, which was, that's a dirty brush, well done. I always say to people, keep your brushes clean. What am I doing? I'm not. Right, so let's mix that fresh. So that's blue and red, more blue than red, that's a lot bluer, a bit more red in. That's slightly bluer than that, and I think I prefer it. So let's take that off And I'm just going to make a little mark there. So it's quite a dark colour, isn't it? We could make it lighter and see what happens. That's more of a lilac-y colour now. Could maybe have a combination of the two. See what that does. And then we had it somewhere here, didn't we? So let's just put some in here. And that's all I'm going to do. And then we're going to have the orange. And again, I'm just really, I want this to be quite rich. And I don't want it to sort of disappear. So again, just some very rough marks. I may need to go over that one again. And then I might just have a tiny bit, clean brush, a tiny bit of crimson. So I'm just going to take that off, put that on. And as I said, you know, you can make sure the marks are not the same. I think I might almost prefer that to the orange. So I'm just going to add some of the crimson to the orange. So you can still see the orange, but I'm just going to add some crimson to it. I'm quite happy with all of that. I might put a little bit down here. And maybe it's too much to put some in there, but let's see. So I'm going to leave it like that and let it dry. But you can see what a difference adding a complementary colour to your painting will make. So if you're ever unsure about how to zhuzh up your painting, the thing to do is to colour in use some paper, make some colour patches, and then try them on your painting. Now, those pieces of paper would have looked just as great as collage, so we could have collaged that in. And in order to do that, I use a gel medium to glue it down. The reason I use gel medium and not PVA, I know a lot of people use PVA, but PVA tends to yellow and gel medium doesn't. So it's not the fluid medium, it's the gel medium. And maybe in another video I can show you how we do that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Do take a look at the original video of the limited palette and see how that enables you to really understand colour mixing. And then you can develop your painting in this sort of a way. Remember how it looked before, this is the limited palette, and how it's changed by just adding a few colours, complementary colours, in all the right places. If you like this, do subscribe, of course, it really helps my channel. I love having you here, and let's do another video together. Bye for now.